Welcome to Guns 101. This is our video welcome message for new gun owners. It's brought to you by the Self Defense Radio Network. I'm Rob Morse from Self Defense Gun Stories. My partners here are Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. The guy doing the heavy lifting behind that curtain there is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. We have Yehuda Remer with us. He's a child's author, and some of his books have been on child's safety around firearms. Wow. Children come in all sizes. Young kids, we have to talk to them about guns. Maybe I've got a roommate that's never been about guns, and I've brought a gun into the home. Those are a lot of different conversations we have to have, Yehuda. How do I grade them depending on what? My roommate, her kids, his kids, my kids? Oof. Help me make that conversation.
So, introducing children at a young age, I find, is the easiest because, well, let me start off by saying this: a maturity level is definitely in the works, right? You have to understand each child. Everyone is different. My 10-year-old, I was able to introduce him to firearms at ages 4 and 5. My daughter, she was about the same age. But then I have a baby who, he's now 3. He's known about firearms for as long as he can because I already introduced them to my older ones. Now, for example, my 3-year-old runs around the house showing me his fingers off the trigger of a. Let me start that off. Running around the house with a Nerf gun, showing that his finger, off the trigger, but in reality, it's still on the trigger. Now, what I do is I come up to him. I'm like, hey, man, hey, buddy, this is your finger. This is the trigger. Keep your finger like this. And, I lift his finger so it's off the trigger. He doesn't go near my real firearms unless he says, if he sees me carrying my my EDC on me, he'll say, hey, Daddy, can I see it? And obviously, I take it out. I clear it. I show him where's the trigger. Daddy's finger is off the trigger. There's no, obviously, he's a little kid. There's no bullets in the gun. I make it very interactive, and he's only 3 years old. Because I understand that by the time he's 5, 6 years old, I'm not going to have to worry about putting a real firearm in his hands. He will know what to do. So every kid is different. Maturity level comes into place. Is your kid the type of kid who loses their temper very easily? Well, I would say, based on that, you have to be a judge of if you think your kid is going to be a violent kid who loses his temper or just throws a fit in a tantrum. It really comes into play with each kid is an individual. Each parent has to make a game time decision on when they want to actually introduce a real firearm. Now, that doesn't mean from a young age you can't begin the process by teaching them gun safety, by, like I said, taking away the mystique of firearms. That you can do as early as you want. But in terms of actually putting a firearm in their hand, that's really up to each parent, and they have to use their discretion on how ready they think their child is.
I like that aspect of it, Yehuda, in the sense that kids play games with guns. It may be a finger gun, but you can talk about the elements of firearm safety even then. Okay, you guys are playing cowboys and Indians. The Indians are over there. The cowboys over there. Okay, where's the safe direction? So yeah, I remember doing that with my kids. There's no hardware involved. It's an attitude towards firearms that we're teaching.
Right.
These new gun owners need to get that attitude as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's really a mental hoop that you have to jump through. My kids, my daughter I've begged her to go shooting. She's a little more timid than my older son, so she hasn't gone yet. She's 8 years old. But I have a Davy, was it a Davy cricket gun someone gave me? It's black with pink stripes. I got her a pair of pink Weber, not Weber. Oh man, I totally forgot. But um, war, not even gonna go there. Pink headphones for her ears when she goes. And when she's ready, she'll tell me. But anyone who is now carrying a firearm, who now has a firearm, they have to understand that it's a mental hoop that you have to go through when to discuss it with your children, or at least, again, when to show them that you have a real gun. I really firmly believe that at an early age, you could start talking to children about firearms, firearm safety, firearms education. I just had someone actually buy my ABCs of Guns book because they have a two year old who they're apparently this kid is very smart and they're teaching their child the ABCs, and their child is now going to be learning the ABCs of guns, um, to educate themselves. And 2 years old, uh, why not start at a young age? It's the same exact reason why when a baby is crawling, or you'll have a 10-month-old who's crawling and they will crawl into the kitchen while you're baking something. And obviously with the ovens we have nowadays, the glass window to the oven is not hot when the oven's on, the way they make them. So you still run to your 10-month-old and say, hey, don't touch it, it's very, very hot. Well, they don't understand what that is, but you keep on telling them so that by the time they're, 18, 19 months, they're not going to go around touching it because they understand that they can get hurt. Same thing with firearms. At a young age, you begin to get that in their head that firearms are tools, that they can be used for good, they can be used for bad. But at the same time, you're educating them that they shouldn't touch it unless they ask. One thing that I'm very proud of that I do with my kids is when I strip down all my guns and I'm cleaning them, I bring my kids in and I let them help me. I'll put the lube or the spray or anything in the barrels, and I let my kids snake the barrels. I let them scrub them down, all through a watchful eye. But I show them, hey guys, look, the gun is broken down. These are the pieces. You can see the gun's not loaded. I show them how the gun works, but I get them part of the educational process. I let them be part of it so that they're like, oh, this is actually a lot of fun. Look, we're having a healthy respect for our firearms by cleaning them, by using them. And wow, shockingly, they're not hurting anybody because we're taking proper safety. When they're scrubbing down the frame, I see the fingers off the trigger with my kids. It's just you have to use every opportunity to educate the children, no matter how young they are. My 3-year-old makes the barrel of my Glock when I clean it, and he loves it. And the more I educate him, he's beginning to become a lot more comfortable, and I'm seeing less of a, I guess on my part, less nervous that I have a 3-year-old with a ton of guns in the home.
It's very important to teach kids about how to be safe with all these. And when my kids were young, the only thing we were concerned about at first was just to keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. And my kids are in their upper teen years, and still when I take them to the range, we go through the safety rules of safe direction, finger off the trigger, check how to make sure the gun's loaded. It's something is an ongoing thing and never ends.
No, 100%. Every time I take someone in my community to the range for the first time, I took a 62-year-old man in my community to the range, and I told him, I'm like, hey, Ivan, listen, I love you, you're awesome, but I'm going to be treating you like a 3-year-old because you have not touched a gun in 40 years. Since the guy was from South Africa, so since you were in the South African Army, I said, I'm going to be treating you like a 3-year-old. It has nothing to do with me being disrespectful, has nothing to do with me thinking that you're not competent, but it has everything to do with firearm safety. And because you have not touched a gun in 40 years, I'm considering you a absolute novice, and you can take that or leave that how you want. You don't have to like me at the end of the day, but that's just the way it's going to be.
Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, we have been speaking with Yehuda Remer. He's a child's author. He's written a number of books for kids about firearm safety. You can find all of his social media outlets if you look for the Pew Pew Jew. We've been talking with Yehuda, and I am Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. I also have with me Rob Morse from Self-Defense Gun Stories and Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. Please check out all of our shows on the Self-Defense Radio Network. That's where you find all of your pro-freedom podcasts in one place. It is sdrn.us. And please check out all the other videos that the Polite Society podcast is putting out on their YouTube channel. We're calling them Guns 101, and they're for all of the new gun owners that we have. Thank you all very much.